Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. I'm going to keep this introduction very, very brief because I'm building a little air of mystery about what I'm going to show you here in a few moments. That's why I kind of obscured most of the knife in the thumbnail. I didn't do an Instagram preview. I really want you to come into this fresh and maybe experience a little bit of what I experienced when I first opened up this knife when it came in the mail. I was completely blown away. I had a certain level of expectation, and honestly, it completely blew that out of the water. I knew it was going to be nice, but I didn't really have a really high bar set, mainly because of that $300 price range that these sit in. One thing I do want to tell you right off the bat is this is another one of those situations where it is not a knife maker, but a knife designer. So what does that mean to you and how you have to purchase this? They're not always going to be readily available. They're going to be done in drops. So I'm going to give you the information for the company's Instagram so you can keep an eye out for when they make their drop announcements or when their next shipment comes in, if they have extra knives available from that shipment, from the pre-order that they did. You're going to have to purchase in that way. So the good thing is it gives you time. It gives you time because right now they're not available. You can go follow their Instagram, go to their website, check out things, see some of the options that they've made available. And you can kind of get yourself mentally and financially prepared to pull the trigger on these, because when I show this knife to you, if you see the things in it that I see, I think that you're going to be very, very excited, and you're going to definitely want to add one of these to your collection. Now, before I get off into the photography and the video review and everything else, I want to remind you very quickly that the majority of people watching my videos are not subscribed for some reason. And I am going to make a push for 100,000 subscribers in this year. So please do subscribe if you like the content that I'm putting out, like the video, of course, and add comments down below, ask me questions, have conversations, whatever. It all helps the algorithm and allows more people to be exposed to these videos. The other thing is, I'm getting ready to do yet another Patreon giveaway. So if you are not a member of my Patreon, please follow this URL down below. There'll also be a link in the video description. It's patreon.com/JimSkeletonKnives. And if for as little as $5 a month or 10 or 20, whatever you want to sign up for in those different tiers, you get an opportunity all the time, several times a year. I'm trying to do a monthly, but several times a year, to win free EDC gear, free knives, from high-end production to mid-tech and even full customs that are being built for me right now. The next one I'm going to be doing is something really special. It's a very, very cool knife. I will try to remember to show it at the end of this video if I remember to do so. So join the Patreon family. I appreciate all of you guys and your support. You're helping to grow this channel. Now, without any further ado, I want to get into the knife. I want to show you what it is that I'm so excited about. The knife that I cannot keep out of my pocket since it arrived. I'm going to be carrying this, I think, for quite a long time, very, very regularly. Something that I'm very excited about, and I hope that you guys feel the same way. Let's drop it in right now and see what it is. All right, it's time for that secret squirrel shit to be done, and I want to share my excitement with you for this frag-scaled beauty. And for a lot of you, you've already guessed what this is, but there are still many more that have never seen this knife. I'm actually late to the game. I apologize to that. There have been some really good reviews by some really good people about this knife, and I'm kind of coming in late, but it doesn't take away from my absolute excitement for this. This is the EMP EDC Nymble. EMP stands for Every Man's Pocket, EDC. And what we're looking at here is really unlike anything else I believe that I've ever brought out to my channel. I want to start things off by saying this is only in the $300 price range. You've got a lot of different options you can go with it. Change the price a little bit here and there, but it is around a little bit less and a little bit more than $300. What I have here is the frag version. I could not resist the finish of this knife, the look of those frag titanium slabs. This is a titanium frame block, by the way. There's a lot more than meets the eye with this knife, and it's not just a flipper, and we're going to delve deep into that. But first, let me get the basic specifications out of the way just so that's all satisfied. First off, it is 6.85 inches in overall length. You've got a 3.1 inch M390 blade. This particular variation is the stonewashed version. And you guys know I'm not a big stonewash fan because we've seen it in so many knives, but this stonewash is so damn well done. I mean, right up there with Chris Reeve knives, right up there with Hinderer. Really, really good stonewash. The cutting edge, once you get rid of that finger choil in the measurement, it is 2.67 inches in the cutting edge. The way that it's constructed, you have a titanium frame lock with the lock insert that also serves as a travel overstop, so you can't overstress that lock bar, and you have steel on steel contact for the lockup. Let's see what else. You've got ceramic bearings that inside are riding on steel washers, and that is what's going to attribute to the absolutely unbelievably smooth action. And I mean all the way around, opening, closing, crazy, crazy smooth. This is actually manufactured by QSP Knives, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because I just did a video on QSP for the badass little penguin here. This is my personal penguin here, and I'll be honest, I was very surprised that the same company made both of these knives. The Penguin was made to be a super ultra affordable knife, this being the upgraded titanium frame lock with some of the nicer things to it with the blade steel and everything else. So this was more than the standard Penguin, but it was still a very, very budget priced knife. Nothing about this knife feels budget priced. Again, I'll touch on that a little bit later on. Here is one of the things that I found to be so fascinating about this knife. I can manual thumb open it like a Sebenza, nice and slow, nice and controlled. I can thumb flick it. I can flip it by light switching it. And I can front flip it. Oh, and for those of you, I absolutely cannot stand doing this. It is so awkward to me, but if you like that reverse flick, I always have a hard time doing this on camera, because I have to get my hand in the right position. And I don't know why I can't do it right now, but this thing actually does an amazing reverse Spidey flick, if that's what you're into. Again, I don't ever do this. I despise it, so I'm a little awkward doing it, but it does do it very, very easily. So you have multiple deployment methods, and that really is this knife's claim to fame, that you have the flipper tab, you have the front flipper tab, you have the large elongated thumb slot that allows you to open in several different ways. It is a fidget monster. You'll sit here and play with this thing all day long, even probably more than your standard flippers, because you just have so many options in which to do so. So you've got the manual open, slow open, thumb flick, standard flip, reverse Spidey flick, and somehow or other, the detent is tuned perfectly for all those. It's not too strong that it feels laborious to do the slow opening. It's not so strong that it wants to kind of break that detent and then kind of fly off of your thumb when you're doing the slow open, which I've seen with a lot of thumb stud and thumb hole openers. That the detent's too strong, that it really isn't conducive to opening in that manner. It's perfect for flipping. Definitely one of the best flippers you're going to get your hands on. That's for damn sure. It does it all, and it does it flawlessly. It does it smoothly. Another thing that I really like about this, you have a completely sterile blade. There are no markings anywhere on this blade or on the frame. You have 2 markings on the whole knife. The branding is done right here on the pivot, which is masterfully done. I love when companies do this. It's nice and clean, and it doesn't just scream with giant billboards all over it. And then you have a limited edition status number engraved into the quarter-length backspacer. That's it. Other than that, this knife is sterile. It is naked. Oh, man. I really dig this thing. I could sit here, honestly, and just finger bang it all day long. But in case you're not going to finger bang it all day long, you have a lot of different options in which that you can open it. Some other things, like I mentioned before, it is hefty and solid feeling. Let's get the scale out here, because I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I had certain expectations before getting this in my hand, and they were all exceeded. 3.7 ounces. To put that in perspective, the QSP Penguin, it's 3.2 ounces. This definitely feels lighter weight. And I'm not going to say that a heftier feeling knife determines any degree of quality, but it's a perceived quality. It feels somehow more expensive when it's got a little bit of heft to it. Another knife I'll be doing for size comparison here is a weight comparison. 2.6 ounces on the Vero Engineering Synapse Mini, which you guys know is one of my absolute favorite small knives. And let's get those size comparisons out of the way. Here's the thing. This knife is deceiving. It looks big and beefy and bulky in pictures, but it's not. It's a very small knife, but it doesn't feel small. We'll bring out the Vero Engineering Mini Synapse. How crazy is that? Doesn't that knife look, when it's sitting by itself, doesn't it look significantly larger than that should be? It's nuts. And then up against the Penguin. I know a lot of you guys bought the Penguin after I did the Penguin video, so a lot of you own that knife. It's almost identical in size. It's insane. But it doesn't feel petite in any way when you're holding it. Like with the Vero. As much as I love this, it's meant to be extremely lightweight, and it has, I mean, it almost has kind of a petite feeling to it, almost like you could break it. You're not, obviously, it's a very well-made knife. I'm not saying that, but it has that perception. And when you put this frag-scaled bitch in your hands, it just feels more substantial. Still, it's not large. It's not oversized. When you put your finger in the finger choil, though, it fills up your hand really well. I don't care how you grip the knife, it's comfortable. All the frag sections, all the grenade frag sections are gently rounded off, so there's no sharp edges on there, even though it looks like there are. Everything is just gently rounded or beveled so that everything is comfortable in the hand. Even the pocket clip, you almost don't notice the pocket clip being there. If you choke up on it, you don't know the pocket clip's there. If you're holding it back here, you'll feel it just a little bit right there. But it's nothing bad at all. Not really a hot spot. Definitely wouldn't call it that. Another interesting benefit is you have a glass breaker right here. So if you wanted to break the window to get out of your car because Just like in all the movies, a spy shot out your tire while you're driving across the bridge and you landed in the river. You're like, oh no, my car is filling up with water. What shall I do? That's what you do right there. You just pop, 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 and it'll pop that window right out. Because I know that's going to happen to at least 20% of my audience. So you probably want to grab one of these just to stay on your toes. And as I also mentioned earlier on the backspacer, there is individually numbered. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can buy this knife. You could get it in a smooth body configuration or the frag. For me, it was frag all the way. I really like frag designs, but there are not many knives that execute it well enough that I've wanted to have one in my collection. This was one that really, really did it right. You have a couple of different blade shapes, and I know specifically on the upcoming Nymble X, which is the larger version, which I believe is a 3.5-inch blade, and I promise you, you're going to see that one on this channel when they're released. They're not out yet. I will have one of those now. I'm going to end up with a collection of these. I am so in love with this knife. They do a different blade shape. There are 2 different blade shapes that will be available. You can go with satin, stone-washed, or a black-washed DLC blade. And not only that, you can go as cheap as you want. Just get the basic, go all stone-wash. And then later on, when you're like, hey, I want to doll this up a little bit, he has accessory kits on his website as low as $40. What does that get you? It gets you another pocket clip, it gets you another backspacer, and it gets you another pivot and the titanium hardware. Done in different flavors of anodized titanium, like green and blue and bronze. There's even a Timascus kit where you can get a Timascus clip, Timascus backspacer, and I believe it's a titanium anodized pivot and screws. Really awesome. The upgrades are super cheap, so you can customize this knife by buying the upgrade kit, as many kits as you want, and change up the flavor whenever the hell you want to do it. That's pretty damn awesome. I really dig that idea. This is a downright addictive knife. Every time I walk by this knife, I pick it up and I play with it. I've literally had this knife for a day. It arrived in the mailbox yesterday, and I already had a pretty good idea of what this knife was going to be. So there was those preconceived notions in my mind. Like, okay, it's a relatively very inexpensive knife. It's a production knife. Granted, it's a limited production, but you know, it's not a custom. It's fairly small, but I really couldn't get a grasp on the size of it until I opened it. And it's made by a company that's really, really, really new to the game. Even QSP, they really haven't been around all that long. So the designer and the manufacturer, pretty new. And I just kind of went, let's see what this is all about. When I opened the box and I pulled it out, and I felt the action immediately. First thing I did was I did a standard flip. I was like, holy shit, that was effortless. You do feel the detent. It is a pretty strong detent, but it's an effortless action to open. And I'm like, holy shit, let's see how smooth it is. So I just kind of dropped the lock, got it past the detent. And I was like, oh shit. And it feels so substantial. Then I did a thumb flick and went, oh damn. Then I did a manual open. I'm like, holy shit, it just keeps getting better. Even though I hate front flippers, holy shit. It front flips really nicely, which of course I'm not holding it right because I'm trying to keep it in frame. I'm not going to worry about it. Let's try and do it. There we go. Nice front flip on there. And then, yeah, that reverse Spidey flick. It literally does everything, and it does everything equally effortlessly. It's the perfect detent, perfect action, perfect everything. While I'm not crazy about how this looks with the 2 tabs on there, it doesn't take away from this knife for me. Just the way the same way that it's kind of heavy on the hardware. There's a lot of hardware on this knife. I know I've seen some people post and say, "Oh, there's not much." I don't know why you're saying that it doesn't have a lot of hardware. Jesus Christ, screw there, screw there, screw there, screw there, pivot screw there, pivot there, screw there, screw there. There's a lot of hardware, but it works. Now, maybe if it was the smooth body, I may not feel the same way, but in the frag, it kind of has that cool look. It's got a lot of machining on it already, so the hardware doesn't detract away from it. I love the fact that it does have a lanyard slot, because a knife that's ultimately this small, you might want to have a tight knot lanyard hanging an inch or two off there, just to give you a little bit of extra grip on there if you're holding it like this. If you're holding it in the finger choil, you're fine. If you're doing any kind of detailed cutting, you're fine. The jimping up here goes a nice long way. It goes so far back because of the front flipper. The jimping is nice. It's not harsh at all, but it's just enough to give you good traction. You got jimping on the regular flipper tab as well. It's just, damn it, it's just perfectly done. To the point where I messaged John. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is absolutely far beyond what I expected it to be. And I didn't want to get my hopes up all high. And I know I'm kind of doing things a little bit differently here with the way that I'm structuring this video, and not really showing you much and trying to keep it a little bit of a surprise, because it surprised me so much. That's why I'm doing it. I want you to kind of, you can't experience what I'm experiencing without touching it. But I kind of want to give you a little taste of how I felt when I opened the box. And by the way, I probably should show you the box as well. Nothing to write home about, not particularly special. I do like the EMP EDC logo. It's pretty damn cool. But it's just a cardboard magnetic box. Inside here, I do like the fact they put the stickers in here. Tells you your blade steel. Tells you when it was made. How awesome is that? And your serial number. This is the 3rd production. So any bugs that there may have been in the originals have been worked out. And then you get some cool stickers. We all love stickers, right? So there's 1 sticker. There's 2 stickers. And there's 3 stickers. That's probably my favorite sticker out of all of them. The grenade. So, yeah, I like the extras of the packaging, but the packaging itself is not particularly special. You know, if they would have put these in like these little Pelican cases, you know, it would have had to jump up the price another 35, 40 bucks at least. So keeping the prices in line right where they are, I am totally fine with a cardboard box that I'm probably never going to see again anyway. It's going to get thrown in the tote, thrown in the closet, and not seen again. I also want to show you the milling on the inside of the scales. Should be able to see the pockets that are milled out in there. Yep, there we go. And then there's the other ones. So they have done a bit to reduce the weight, so it's not cumbersome at all to carry. I think if there's one thing I would change about the entire knife, I love the clip, how it functions. It works perfectly in the pocket. Just enough tension to hold in there very, very well, but it's not a struggle to push it in or to pull it out. Love that. But I think on the frag knife, I really would have liked to seen, and they would have had to have done a thicker clip, I understand that, but a thicker clip with the frag pattern in the clip as well really, really would have been great. Or make up a few and then sell them in the accessory packs. I think that would have been a really, really great idea. I get why they don't, because they can use this clip on every single version of this knife, frag or not, and that is a way of saving money. I totally get that. But it would be a really nice option if we could buy, I mean, I would spend easily $40, $50 just on the clip. If there was a frag clip available, and you know, maybe if John's listening, he'll go, oh, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. I would love to see a frag clip available, even just as an option that can be purchased. I think that would be super cool. But the clip is perfect, the perfect amount of tension. The lock bar tension as well. A lot of times when you get into such a short knife, your lock bar tension could be a little bit much, and this one really isn't. It's also very easy to access, because the presentation side is just pulled back just a little bit more, so you could just very easily slide your thumb over and engage the lock. So all in all, you've got a knife that, in my opinion, looks absolutely fantastic, but it performs perfectly. It's a good cutter. It's got a nice edge. Cut down just a couple of small boxes, nothing major, a couple of cardboard boxes yesterday. It didn't bunch or bind up everything, even though it's a 3/4 height flat grind. because you have this large opening hole. If that grind was higher, it would be a much more beneficial bevel geometry to cutting thicker things like cardboard, but I didn't have any issue with the 3 or 4 small cardboard boxes I cut down. Did a little bit of paper slicing and everything. I mean, the edge is really nice. It's not incredible. It's not, you know, it's not a Rockstead. It's not $1,000 knife. But the edge is really, really good. It will catch you by surprise if you happen to come in contact with it. It is perfectly serviceable. Somebody has a strop laying around. If you hit it with the strop when it first comes in, it should probably laser up really, really nicely. Overall, I like the weight. I really like the size. It's not quite as diminutive as something like this, but it's still a bit more compact than most of the other knives that I've got. But it doesn't feel wimpy. It doesn't feel too lightweight for what it is. I feel that this is one of the best balanced knives in its size and weight overall. The ratios are perfect. I do very quickly, let me put that down for a second. I want to grab something. Because John was kind enough to write me a little note, and if he took the time to do that, I do want to share it with you. I don't want to just kind of skip past it. It says, the Nymble is my first folding knife design. The goal was to build a pocket knife that I myself would love to own. Something with that little extra spark, multiple deployment methods, aka fidget factor, and a smooth yet solid feel. And yeah, that perfectly nails exactly what this knife is. He says the knife needed to have comfortable ergonomics and and had to function in an intuitive and reliable manner. It took a few iterations to get there, but the Nymble is a result of a lot of time, effort by my partners and myself. We're very proud of how the knife came out as a fun and functional tool in a stylish, fidget-friendly package. It flips and flicks exactly as intended in all its many ways. I mean, I really probably just could have read that and ended the video because that really encompasses everything that I think about this knife. It does. So many knives try to do a lot of things and they can't do everything well. They'll do 1 or 2 of those things well. Here's a knife with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different deployment methods, and it does them all equally perfectly. That's insane. The ceramic detent is tuned perfectly. The ceramic bearings riding on the polished steel washers give it an even smoother surface, and it feels like it's gliding. It's like 2 panes of glass with a goober of snot in between. It's just smooth and it glides, and it's not quite that disgusting, but it's just perfect. Love the frag pattern. I may or may not go for a non-frag, a smooth body in some of the other models that I'm going to be getting into. But I can assure you I will be reviewing the X, and I'm probably going to be buying a few more of the smaller one because even though it was the X I was initially interested in, I'm really, really glad that I have this in my hands because there is nothing about this knife that I don't really, really like. So yeah, I hope that if you watch this video, you did it with the intention of, oh shit, Jim's going to corrupt me again. I better get ready to buy something because it is going to cost you money. You are going to want one of these for sure. No way around it. It is just that damn cool. Now again, to reiterate, this is a brand that does their offerings in drops. And here's why. When you are a knife designer, or maybe you're even a knife maker and you're making your way over into production knives, and you can't afford to lay out, let's say, $50,000 to pay a company like QSP to manufacture your design, what do? You make sure that you have designed it as well as you possibly can. You get renderings that show a lot of different flavors and variations that you're going to offer, and then you have the company build you on good faith a prototype. You show that prototype, you show all the renderings of the available options, you nail down how long it's going to take for production, and you take a pre-order. You have people buy them. They're going to pay your production costs. You're not going to make any money until the knives arrive and you're able to ship them out. And you know that's the way it is because you're going to pay up front to have all these knives made. But the wonderful, and that depends, by the way, on how the pre-order is done. Some companies do 50% pre-order, and that's what I'm talking about. 50% pays for the production. The other 50, you can start making your profit. If it's 100% pre-order, sure, you get to make your profit up front. But that's a very, very smart way to do things. It really is, because it allows you the flexibility to dictate everything about that knife from that company and say, it has to be done my way. This is the way it needs to be done. You have the complete creative control. When you get that prototype, you get to send it back and go, no, I want this change, I want that change, I want that changed. And they're more likely to meet your timeline, your deadline demands for the production release. And the customers, yes, unfortunately, you're going to wait. It could be 60 days, 90 days, 120 days from the time you order. But it's like when you buy a Vero or so many other knives now. The VBR, which you guys know I love. All these wonderful knives that these companies, that these brands are doing. They're going that pre-order route because it allows them to offer everything they want. They don't have to start cutting corners because they can only afford X amount of dollars to pay for that production. They are going to use the pre-order money to pay for it. They've already set that retail price. They know what their production costs are going to be shipped in the packaging, everything out the door, and then they could set what they're going to make. And then they don't have to cut corners. This could have been a cheaper steel. It could have been a thinner blade stock. It could have been a thinner titanium. It could have not been pocketed. It could have had a cheaper spring clip. It could have not used ceramic bearings and detent. There are things that could have been cheaped out on if maybe John had to reach in his own pocket and self-finance the whole thing. Instead, it's like crowdfunding. It's like crowdsourcing. He says, okay, here's what I'm going to offer you. Here's everything. Here's how it's going to look. You guys are interested. You buy into it. Boom. So, with all that said, these are not available right now. There is another run coming at some point soon. Follow their Instagram. It's in the description below the video. Follow their Instagram, go to their website, check things out, see what's available, when it's available, and when you can do your ordering. I promise you, when you get this knife, you are absolutely going to be in love with it. There's just no way around it. For it to impress me to the degree that it has, I got to tell you, it was a complete surprise to me. Like I said, I was pretty sure I was going to like it. I didn't know I was going to fall madly, completely in love with it. As a matter of fact, I honestly, I just want to stop the video right now so I can put this in my pocket. And you know what? Screw it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll see you guys on the next video.